Good morning. Here we are. It is the 3rd of May, almost into the last month of the school year. And today, what I wanted to go over is going to be our blood typing lab. We're talking about the circulatory system at the end of last week and the beginning of this week, about the heart pushing blood through your body, about the importance of the blood and what it can do. Today, we're going to go over how you test blood to determine something that we talked about way back in genetics, about what blood type does an individual have. So let's get started with it. Now, what you'll find is it's pretty straightforward. We are in Schoology still. I'll pop back one. We're in Unit 6 for the human body. We're now down at week 8, the finale. This will be the last week of our human body work. And here it is, right away, our blood typing lab along with the turn-in. So here's the deal, all right, artist's rendition here. What we found was we found a trash can, and inside that trash can was a victim, the body of a victim, Ernest Earl. Now, we also found a knife with blood on it, and we also found some crime scene blood. Now, we don't know who these different bloods belong to. And that's what we want to find out. Because if they both belong to the victim, then we have no greater data. We have no greater ability to find out who's responsible. But if one of them belongs to one of the suspects, then we know they were at the crime scene. And now we can investigate further. So we have 3 possible suspects. And the job with this lab is to find out who, if any of them, were present at the scene of the crime. Now, how that's going to work is pretty straightforward. Okay. Well, it was straightforward. And then the lab decided to disappear on me. One moment. Yeah, okay, so it just straight up disappeared. Great. There we go. All right, so something we need to talk about first is how do you tell what blood type someone is? On this lab, you're going to be doing multiple different tests right here, 6 different tests, one for each of our suspects, and one for the victim, and one for the crime scene, one for the weapon sample. So 6 in total. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding antibodies to each one of these, and we're going to see if agglutination happens. All that means is clumping. Just clumping. So basically, if we add anti-A and it clumps up, we add anti-B and it doesn't clump up, they have type A blood type because it responded to the type A in their blood. If we add both of them and we get no clumping with A, but we get clumping with B, then they're blood type B because it responded to the B proteins. If we get clumping in both of them, then they're type AB because they have both A and B. And if we get no clumping at all, they are type O because they lack those proteins. Now, the setup for this lab is pretty extensive. What we're going to do is we're going to use these little plastic dishes, and we're going to add a couple drops of each of our blood samples to all 3. We're going to add the anti-A to one, anti-B to the second, and anti-RH to the third. We're going to give them a little stir with our little plastic toothpick, and we're just going to see if it clumps up. If it does, then we're going to draw it in here. And we're just going to draw the difference between clumping or no clumping. And that's it. And then we're going to identify the blood type for each. It says use a positive sign. So if you don't want to draw, you are welcome to just be like plus. And that means that that one did, in fact, clump up. I'll leave it to you. All right. So I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to give everybody a minute to bring this lab up so that you're ready to fill things in while I get materials organized. The materials for this lab are no joke. It's quite a arrangement. All right, pause the video if you need to. Otherwise, let's take a look at what we're going to be doing. So the first thing we're going to do is we are first going to do suspect number 1. This is Bobby Baby Brooks. And from his blood sample, we're going to add some here, here, and here. Simple enough. Now we're going to add his anti-A. So this is the antibodies against A. Just a couple of drops. And once we stir it up, you can see, I think, that it is getting chunky, that we're seeing differences in there. All right, then we're going to test anti-B. Now you'll see for anti-B, there's no such issue. We're not getting all that chunkiness that we're seeing there. And then finally, we're going to add RH. All right. And we are getting some clumping in there just like there. So we know that he responded to A, so he's got A, and he has RH. So those were 2 positives. So if we go back to the lab, we would say, yup, and nope. Now that means his blood type will be A positive because he responded to type A and the RH, which is your plus or your minus. All right. Now I'm not going to come back to this view of the lab. I'll let everybody else finish it. I'm just going to do the experimental side because it takes some time. All right. So suspect 1 is done, A positive. Now for suspect number 2, this is Slim Jim Snoot. Just a few drops of blood in each one. I'm going to go much quicker now. There's A. There's B. There's the RH. So now we'll stir them up a little bit. There's nothing in A. Nothing in B. And quite a bit in RH. So in which case, this individual had nothing for A, negative, nothing for B, negative, but positive for RH. Now remember, if they get nothing for either one, then it means that their blood type is going to be type O. And in particular, this is O positive because he tested positive for the RH factor. All right, on to suspect number 3. This is Barbie Doll Jones. And then anti-A. Antigen B. And the RH. stir each of them up with a clean toothpick. We've got clumping in A. We've got clumping in B. And nothing in RH. So that means that Barbie was positive for A, positive for B, negative for RH. So her blood type then will be AB because she has both. All right, so now we have our three suspects. Now what we need to do is now we need to check our victim. A, B, and RH. Get another toothpick. Nothing in A. Nothing in B. And definitely some chunks in RH. So that means that well, I'll leave you guys to figure it out. Negative, negative, positive. So he has no A and no B. So that's our victim. Now we can check something like the crime scene. Here's our A. Our B. And our RH. So this is the blood found at the crime scene. And we can see that A is positive. There's chunks in there. RH is positive. There's chunks in there. B is negative. There's no chunks present. And finally, our last one, let's check the weapon. We want to make sure the blood sample from the weapon. Now, you would expect the blood on the weapon to match who? Points if you said the victim. Because, usually if you find a weapon at the scene of the crime, there's a body, it's safe to say that the weapon probably was used against the victim. But we do want to make sure all right, so we've done all that. So for our weapon, we see nothing in A, nothing in B, but we have coagulation in RH. Now, what's interesting is here is the tray from our victim. And if you look at those two and you say, yup, those two came across the same, they did. And that's exactly what we'd expect. Now, the real question, though, here are our three suspects. Here is the blood scene at the scene of the crime. Question is, who has the same pattern? These two do. They both tested positive for A and positive for RH. So now, ladies and gentlemen, your job is to go back and answer just a couple of questions. Literally, it's 2 questions. Number 1, what do your results show? Whose blood matches what? And then what would you do next in this investigation if you were the police? That's it. That's the lab. The next couple of pages, don't worry about. This is the cheap version setup, which is what we're doing here in class because I can afford this. So there's no questions here. It's just about how to set up the different materials. It also does not answer any questions. It's just saying what to put where, how to discuss things. Yeah. So you're free to look through it if you want to, but you do not need to. And that's our lab. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day, and I'll see you in class. And then I'll click the right button to stop the recording.